Hi, and welcome back to Endless Becoming. Hope you are all doing well and are excited to listen or dive into this episode. I went, I guess I went back and forth is the right way to say it as to what I actually wanted to talk about in this episode. And what I settled on is this topic of we are not able to change who we are. And I think some bad advice that gets thrown around is we are who we are. Like I'm 30 now. I'm like, well into, I guess, middle adulthood, I don't even know, now that I'm 30, where I am on the scale of adulthood. But like, I hear people say things like, oh, I'm too old to change. Oh, I can never change. Oh, I am who I am. Oh, you have to love me for who I am. Oh, you have to accept me for who I am. Yeah, I have these XYZ bad traits, but at the end of the day, they are I am who I am, and I'm not going to change. I've heard like iterations of this, and including in my own household. Honestly, I actually had a conversation with my dad last year where when I was expressing something to him about like that frustrated me about his behavior or his like pattern of behavior, he told me I'm too old to change. And granted, he's in his 60s. I'm 30, almost 30. I cannot relate in that way, but it really got me thinking about this idea of like not being able to change who we are. And I may not be 60 or older, but I do have 30 years of like neural pathways built up. Like I have deep roots to how I am, how I act, how I default to acting. And I feel like I had an experience this week where there's I realized that there's a part of me that I haven't been able to change, and I finally saw the shifts in me. And I saw how I started to change. I know that sounds so vague. I'm going to go into it, but my husband and I got into fights this week. We fought for 2 days on and off. I was also on my period at the time. Not that I'm going to blame my period and my hormones, but definitely there was a little bit of a correlation going on. I was very sensitive during this period. And I find that typically when we fight, I've gotten much better because what I've been working on over the years is working on not seeing him as my enemy, but someone who is on my side. But sometimes it happens. I get really triggered, I get really upset, and these subconscious behaviors kick in. And that's exactly what happened this week. I feel like when we got into a fight, I almost reverted to this version of myself that doesn't, I feel, come out super often, but when she does, she angry. I was literally thinking during the fight, if I was fighting with myself, I would be like so intimidated by myself because I just get like really, I don't know how to explain it. I shut down. I feel like I have to lock all my emotions up, all my walls come up. I go behind this mask. Like you will not know what I'm feeling or what's going on. I have like the deadest eyes because I'm trying so hard to keep everything locked up inside me. I like get kind of mean. I feel like I say mean things. Like these are all, like shadow parts of me that I don't really like to acknowledge or think about or talk about. And this version of me doesn't come out often, but she does, obviously, because I'm working on shifting parts of myself, but there are some parts of me that seem to be so subconsciously ingrained. Like it's almost like when I get into this place, I step into this version of me and then I can't get out. And then I'm almost locked in her. And it isn't until like the fight dies down, I go away, we like decompress, that who I am most of the time, this other version of me, this like lighthearted, happy version of me, that's when she comes out. But like sometimes it's so I just revert back and I become this other person. And I've known this about myself, right? But it's very hard to shift a part of me that doesn't come out very often. It's not like I'm thinking about this part of me or this version of me or who I become during fights because we don't fight very often anymore. We've gotten much better at diffusing situations, like nipping them more in the bud before they turn into these huge things. But obviously we live together. Like we spend so much time together. Sometimes I'm moody. So things happen. And this was the first time that when I morphed into this version of me in this fight, that there was a part of me that was still online. I don't know how to explain it. It might sound kind of wacky, but there was a part of me that was online and like observing. And I told this part of me, or I directed this part of me, I intended for this part of me to kind of observe what was happening. So I spent a lot of time. Actually, I'm lying. This has happened to me once before, but it doesn't happen often, especially when I'm in like this place. So this part of me that was online, I told her to observe. So she observed. We observed everything that was going on. It was almost like we were like making a list of like behaviors, making a list of things. And it was almost like a part of me was like, Ashna, this is how we should behave, or this is how like we want to behave, not should. This is how we want to behave. This is what we would do in this situation. Mind you, I was still doing what I was doing. I was still like acting from the subconscious place, being angry, being upset, but I observed. And then what I also did differently is after the fight, typically I would like, we might sleep apart or we might not talk to each other. I'm just revealing all of our marital secrets. We like might not sleep apart. Sorry, we might not sleep together. We might sleep apart if it happens at night, or like I might not talk to him. I might be really angry. I might stew a lot. But what I did was I excused myself from the situation. I left. No, actually, before I even get to this point, like I my husband could see that I was almost having this internal battle with myself, and he was like asking me to share, asking me to let down my guard, but when I'm in this place, guards are up, walls up, I'm locked away. And I remember telling him 2 times, I was like, I really want to, but I can't. And like that's where I am right now. And I'm not going to force myself to be uncomfortable. And there were 2 situations where he was trying to be helpful and he's like, "Look, I see you wanting to let your guard down." Again, he's like, "Talk to me. Tell me what's going on." And I was like, again, like I really want to, but I cannot right now and I don't want to force myself to do it. And then I ended up actually leaving. This was the first night. I ended up actually leaving, having a major cry session, like having a full breakdown, thinking about everything that happened, working through a lot of my emotions. And then I came back, walls down, guard down, and we made up. And similar thing happened second night. It happened 2 times, but we're not perfect and we're trying our best. But like, again, like notice my guard going up, gave myself the grace, observed what was happening. And at the end of it, left, went and did something fun, went and did something for myself because we fought earlier in the day, came back, was able to fully show up as myself, was able to have a conversation with him. And I don't know if a lot of people talk about how we start to shift our behaviors, but I think some of the things I have been doing inadvertently are key. I think number one, not beating myself up over where I am. I think that's super important. I think like I said, I was observing myself. I was watching. I was noting, this is not exactly how I'd like to behave or how I want to show up, but this is where I am right now. Not judging when my husband was asking me to put my guard down and I said, "Look, I want to, but I can't." So kind of just like not coming from a place of judgment, coming from a place of self-love, and which means acceptance. Like this is where I am right now. This is what's going on. This is how I'm able to show up, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. First thing I did well. Second thing, observation. I think the first or whatever, the initial major steps is kind of like realizing and admitting that you have an issue and like observing, watching the issue, because until you watch from this place of a little bit of like what's the word? Oh my gosh, when you're not biased. Oh my gosh, what is the word? I feel like there's a word with an O. Objective. When you're like watching the situation or being able to see the situation from a more objective place is where you're actually identifying, okay, what are the habits? What are the behaviors? What do I want to switch in myself? What do I want to change? What do I want to edit? What do I want to better? I think though that's also a really powerful thing. And 3, space. I think taking yourself out of a very activating situation, doing your own thing, having your breakdown. This is a little bit more maybe for women than men, because I know for women, crying can be very cathartic. It can help our nervous system regulate. I think for men, it's a little bit different, but whatever it is, if you want to cry, like go ahead. I find it to be like so, like I said, cathartic. It really helps me like release what's been building up in my system. I'm able to like let go of a lot of the anger or a lot of it helps me process emotions at the end of the day. I think these are 3 things that are so key in starting to shift your behaviors. But I think a lot of us, including myself, fell into the trap of, well, I am who I am. I'm not going to be able to change, accept it. Or B, I severely judge who I am, and I'm not happy with who I am. I'm not happy with what I do. And what I'm going to do is beat myself up and belittle myself for behaving in these ways that are so ingrained in us. I mean, when you think about it, like, how insane is it for me to beat myself up over something that is like so deeply programmed in my brain? My ways of behaving have had almost 30 years to take place and like settle into my brain, settle into my body, settle into my nervous system. I can't just will myself into behaving differently. I have to really be gentle with myself, accept myself, understand how I got there before I start to shift any behaviors, right? And I think that's a part of it that I'm going to start to do I was actually doing post fight. Like I was having like a recap. That's not the right word. But you know, when you have a major meeting and you kind of sit down and you're like breaking it down, like how did it go? How did it not go? How did it not go? That's kind of what I've been doing for myself and really trying to understand how did I get where did I learn these behaviors? A lot of it I think was modeled to me in my household, but now they're mine, right? It doesn't matter where I learned them, but it's just helpful for me to understand, okay, where did it come from? How has it shaped me? Where am I now? What would I like to change? But I think like being able to come to myself from a place of love, not judgment, being able to watch myself act and being able to step away and take the space that I need were such major, major, major game changers. And I think for anyone out there who's really struggling to shift out of behaviors, I think this is just such a great model. Like, you're going to act subconsciously for a long time before you might realize or think that, hey, there's something I want to shift. But as you come to that realization, really starting to like enact these three things where you're watching yourself, you're accepting yourself, and you are taking that time for yourself to not only step away, but also to like break down, okay, how did I act? How do I want to act? How do I want to be different? How do I want to be better? How do I want to elevate myself as a person? I think these are such important, like, self work or inner work um like steps, for lack of a better word. I'm thinking of a better word, but it's not coming to mind. And yeah, I think that honestly these steps are a culmination of many, many years of therapy, many, many years of doing different modalities, really working on releasing things in my body and really working on understanding who I am and how did I come to be this person. And yeah, I mean, it's easy to say I wish I had these tools before, but I am really happy with the way my life played out and how I came to these learnings. And something I was saying in a past video, past episode, last episode, was it last episode? 2 episodes ago. Something I talked about 2 episodes ago was essentially like, how can I hate my past if it made me who I am? And I think we are a culmination of our experiences, and I would not have learned these steps and how impactful they are and how helpful they are if I hadn't gone through all the stuff that I had gone through in my life. So I am really happy that now I'm at a place where I'm almost creating this like rule book or guidebook for myself on how to work through my emotions, and I'm so happy to be able to share this with you as well at the end of the day. So I am really glad that I was able to have this experience to share with you. And I'm really glad that it's just so fun to turn these experiences that I have into these moments of like, oh my gosh, like I'm shifting, I'm changing, I'm seeing the change in myself, I'm validating myself. And I just think it was so huge for me that I was able to tell my husband that, look, I don't want to act this way, but right now I am. And that's where I am. So I'm trying my best to shift these behaviors, but I am where I am. I'm just really proud of myself, I think, in general, for how everything went, and every opportunity is a learning opportunity. So anyways, thank you so much for being here today, and I really appreciate your time. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, night, weekend, evening, workday, wherever you are listening to this. And please, as always, reach out. I would love to hear your feedback or like what you took away from the episode, or if you've had similar situations, or if you've tried to shift your behaviors, how has that looked like? Even if you use the template that I kind of shared with you, I would love to hear about that as well. I'm actually going to write down the template in the notes of the video, so it's easy to kind of copy paste or screenshot if needed. But thank you so much, and I will be seeing you soon. Bye.